Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Likon Onobanjo. Here are stories making headlines beyond the continent. We begin the news in North America, where former U.S. President Barack Obama lambasted Donald Trump on Thursday and urged voters to support Kamala Harris as he hit the 2024 election campaign trail for the first time. During a lively rally in Pittsburgh, he compared the Republicans' lengthy speeches to those of late Cuban communist leader Fidel Castro, accusing the billionaire of being out of touch with ordinary people. In Pennsylvania, Obama admonished black male voters who support polls show Harris struggled to galvanize for what he described as reluctance to back Harris due to discomfort with the prospect of a female president. Obama acknowledged that the election is going to be close as many voters continue to grapple with rising costs.
So I get it, why people are looking to shake things up. I mean, I am the hopey changey guy. So I understand people feeling frustrated and feeling we can do better. What I cannot understand is why anybody would think that Donald Trump will shake things up in a way that is good for you, Pennsylvania. I don't understand that. So whether this election is making you feel excited or scared or hopeful or frustrated or anything in between, do not just sit back and hope for the best. Get off your couch and vote. Put down your phone and vote. Grab your friends and family and vote. Vote for Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States.
In the meantime, former President Barack Obama has appealed to Americans to vote for Kamala Harris, warning of a tight White House race between her and Donald Trump with less than a month to go. At Thursday's campaign rally in Pittsburgh in the swing state of Pennsylvania, he urged the audience to put down their phones, grab their friends and family, and vote for the current Democratic vice president in the November 5 U.S. election. For News Central, Chief International Correspondent Afia Hagen has more.
Exactly 16 years ago, an impossibly young-looking Barack Obama was barnstorming through Ohio on a bus tour, electrifying huge crowds and emphatically closing the deal on his thumping 2008 election victory. On another October night, on Thursday, the 63-year-old ex-president was back on stage with a vast American flag for a backdrop, trying to do for Kamala Harris what she so far struggled to do for herself, put away the 2024 election. He told voters in Pennsylvania that Vice President Kamala Harris was the best person for the job of president.
Kamala is as prepared for the job as any nominee for president has ever been. That's his comment. And in the White House, she will have an outstanding partner in Governor Tim Walz.
The 44th President of the United States slammed the 45th President, Donald Trump, over his false claims that the Biden administration denied hurricane aid to Republicans.
The idea of intentionally trying to deceive people in their most desperate and vulnerable moments. And my question is, when did that become okay? I'm not looking for applause right now.
Obama's remarks were directed especially at traditional Republicans who may abhor Trump's conduct and the male voters who form his power base. Obama's impassioned appeal for Harris in a state that could doom her presidential hopes comes at a moment when Democrats are fretting that her early momentum after taking over the campaign from President Joe Biden has ebbed, leaving potentially the most critical general election in decades, at best a toss-up with less than a month to go. But for all the anxiety amongst Democrats, rooted in the fear of what Trump would do in a second term, in which he has promised to devote to retribution, the race remains impossible to predict as mid-October approaches. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagen.
Away from that, at least 11 people have died as Hurricane Milton unleashed tornadoes across Florida. According to officials, Florida is grappling with flooding, power outages and other woes from a storm that was milder than many had feared would be catastrophic. The hurricane tore through the state late on Wednesday before surging into the Atlantic, leaving behind roads blocked by fallen trees and power lines. It also ripped the roof off a baseball stadium. Approximately 3 million homes and businesses are without power. Local authorities said the fatalities include 5 in St. Lucie County, 3 in Volusia County, 2 in the city of St. Petersburg, and 1 in the city of Tampa. Thus far, it appears that tornadoes rather than floodwaters are responsible for the storm's death toll.
About 3 in the morning, I get banging on the door. Get out of your house, get out of your house. I got up, I opened the door, and more water came pouring in. So I tried to get a bunch of my stuff, valuables and stuff, and time when I left there, about 35 minutes, it went up to my waist. So I got my cat and all that, and we just swimmed out of there, you know. It's off.
The water is all the way up to people's doors, windows. I mean, people had to get transported out, however way they could get out. This is really scary. This is very scary. I've never experienced anything like this ever.
And now in Europe, the remnants of Hurricane Kirk swept into Western Europe on Wednesday, tearing up trees in Portugal and Spain before dumping heavy rains on France that left at least 1 dead. A storm swell in the Mediterranean off the port city of Sète in southern France overturned 3 boats, killing 1 amateur sailor and putting another in the hospital in critical condition, according to Herald Department authorities. Some 64,000 people in the south of France were also left without power, network supplier Enedis reported, while several departments reported roads cut off by floodwaters.
Oui, à Crécy, oui, c'est la première fois qu'il y a autant d'eau. Sans ça, jusqu'à... je vous dis, mon mari, ça fait 80 ans qu'il est là, et il n'en a jamais vu autant dans Crécy. En principe, on n'en a pas chez nous.
Oui, David, il pleut, mais ça...
Non, je suis locataire, mais je pars sur une autre ville. J'ai décidé de partir. C'est la troisième inondation que je subis en 8 mois. C'est un peu beaucoup. Et puis au niveau des assurances, après, je risque d'avoir quelques soucis aussi, puisque c'est quand même une zone qui est inondable.
Away from that, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he would like to see the war with Russia end by 2025. He adds that in the meantime, aid to Kiev should not decrease. Zelensky said this at a briefing with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Berlin, the final leg of his whirlwind tour of European leaders. During the briefing, Olaf Scholz assured Zelensky that Berlin's support for Ukraine remains unwavering. He added that they would only accept peace on the basis of international law, not one dictated by Russia.
Я представлю Олафу план, як, на нашу думку, примусити Росію до миру, тобто як завершити цю війну, хотілося б не пізніше, ніж у наступному 25-му році, і гарантувати неповторення агресії. Це дуже вагома оборонна підтримка, економічна підтримка, політична наша взаємодія. Я дякую за весь цей обсяг допомоги. Для нас дуже важливо, щоб і наступного року допомога не зменшилась. Я хочу подякувати.
In the meantime, Russian President Vladimir Putin says relations with Iran are a priority for Moscow after talks with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, noting that the two countries share very close views on global events. According to Putin, relations with Iran are developing successfully.
Отношения с Ираном носят для нас приоритетный характер. И они развиваются очень успешно. Мы активно работаем вместе на международной арене, и наши оценки происходящих событий в мире.
We now go on a break, and when we return, we tell you that United Nations official says Lebanon displacement is devastating. We'll bring you more details when we return from this short timeout. Don't go away. Many thanks for being there. We now take you to the Middle East, where United Nations migration official says the displacement of hundreds of thousands of people in Lebanon is devastating, warning that international support is falling short of the needs amid intense Israeli bombardment after a year of cross-border fire between Israel and Hezbollah, which launched attacks on Israel in support of its ally Hamas in Gaza. Israel last month escalated attacks on what it says are Hezbollah targets in Lebanon's south, east, and south Beirut. The violence has killed hundreds of people in Lebanon and displaced more than 1 million others, most of them since September 23, according to Lebanese authorities.
I would say the situation, maybe if I describe it, it's really sad to see this again in Lebanon. The population has suffered a lot, and we are not talking only about this time. In the past few years, there has been a lot of shocks in the country. And with this wave of displacement, we see huge needs. People left with nothing, out of fear. And now they have to rebuild everything once again. So I would say the situation is devastating. We don't want more casualties. We don't want more loss of life. This is number one. Second, we definitely want people to stay in their homes and resume their normal life. Displacement is by nature temporary, and we want this to end as soon as possible. On the other hand, what you see with displacement, people do not have their basic needs. So there is struggle.
Now, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has called on the international community to stop selling weapons to Israel. He said this to reporters in Rome after meeting with Pope Francis at the Vatican. His comments come as fighting in the Middle East spreads from Gaza into Lebanon and neighboring Syria, raising fears of an all-out conflict in the Middle East. He also condemned attacks on the United Nations mission, UNIFIL, in Lebanon by the Israeli armed forces, calling it reprehensible.
Que a la luz de todo lo que está sucediendo en Oriente Medio, la comunidad internacional cese de exportar armas al gobierno de Israel. Creo que esto es de urgencia y este es un llamamiento que voy a hacer desde el primer instante al conjunto de la comunidad internacional. El cesar de exportar armas.
And China's Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning has expressed grave concern and condemnation of the Israeli Defense Forces' attack on UNIFIL positions and opposition posts, which resulted in injuries to UNIFIL personnel in Lebanon. UN peacekeepers said Israeli fire on their headquarters in southern Lebanon left 2 blue helmets injured, sparking condemnation from European members of the nation. Israel acknowledged its forces opened fire in the area, saying Hezbollah militants with whom it is engaged in an escalating conflict operate near UN posts.
中方对以色列国防军袭击联黎部队阵地和哨塔，并造成联黎部队人员受伤，表示严重关切和强烈谴责。任何蓄意攻击联合国维和人员的行为，都严重违反国际人道法和安理会第1701号决议。 绝对不能接受，必须立即停止。我们要求对事件进行调查，对有关人员进行问责，并采取措施。
Let's also tell you that Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says during a press conference in Belgrade with his Serbian counterpart Aleksandar Vučić that tensions between Kosovo and Serbia should be approached with common sense and underlines the importance of stability in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Balkanların huzur ve istikrarının öneminin altını bir kez daha çizdik. Bu minvalde Sırbistan'la Kosova arasındaki son gerilimlere sağduyuyla yaklaşılmasının önemi aşikardır. Bosna Hersek'te istikrarın korunmasında ülkelerimizin kararlılığını da teyit ettik. Bosna Hersek'in siyasi kırılganlığının bir an önce geride bırakılması noktasında Sırbistan'ın yapıcı yaklaşımının önemini de bu vesileyle vurguladım. İstişarelerimizde Ukrayna'nın toprak bütünlüğüne ve egemenliğine olan desteğimizi bir kez daha ifade ettim. Özellikle benim değerli dostumla yaptığım görüşmede Türkiye'nin insansız hava araçlarındaki imkanları da tabii ki bu savunma sanayine yönelik atılacak adımlarda yerini alacaktır.
We now go on a break on Beyond the Continents. When we return, we'll tell you about gunmen that killed 20 miners in Balochistan province. Do stay with us. Taking you to Asia now, gunmen have killed at least 20 people at a coal mine in Balochistan province, southwestern Pakistan. According to local police, the attackers stormed the workers' accommodation at the Junaid Coal Company mines in the province's Duki district in the early hours of Friday, rounded up the men and opened fire. A hospital in Duki has received 20 bodies and is treating 6 injured people. Police added that the workers were attacked when heavy weapons, including rocket launchers and grenades, were used. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has warned China on Friday against taking any provocative action on Taiwan after Beijing lashed out over an annual speech by the self-governing democracy's leader. Following an East Asia summit, Blinken termed Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te's resolve to resist annexation a regular exercise while speaking in Laos. Blinken, while speaking to reporters, says China should not use it in any fashion as a pretext for provocative action.
I can tell you that with regard to the so-called 10-10 speech, which is a regular exercise, China should not use it in any fashion as a pretext for provocative actions. On the contrary, we want to reinforce, and many other countries want to reinforce, the imperative of preserving the status quo, and neither party taking any actions that might undermine it.
Finally, Nihon Idankyo, a Japanese group of atomic bomb survivors, has won the 2024 Nobel Peace Prize, known as Ibakusha. The survivors of the 1945 bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki have been recognized by the Norwegian Nobel Committee for efforts to rid the world of nuclear weapons. Nobel Committee Chair Jørgen Watne Friednes said the group had contributed greatly to the establishment of the nuclear taboo. Friednes warned that the nuclear taboo was now under pressure and praised the group's use of witness testimony to ensure nuclear weapons must never be used again. And that's all on Beyond the Continent. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onabanjo.